There is a potato growing wild across eastern North America right now that tastes better than anything you will find in a grocery store. Native American children called it underground candy. Gold Rush miners credited it with saving their lives. European settlers devoured it with such enthusiasm that the legendary forager Euell Gibbons ate it twice daily for weeks. And he joked that his friend was afraid he would experience withdrawal symptoms when the supply was exhausted. So why have you never heard of it? Why isn't it sold in stores? And why did we abandon a nutritionally superior potato that grows wild and free across half the continent? The answer has nothing to do with taste, and everything to do with what happens when a food system built on control meets a plant that refuses to be tamed. This is the story of spring beauty, Claytonia virginica, the fairy spud that sustained civilizations for 10,000 years, the nutritional powerhouse that outperformed the Irish potato, and the forgotten feast growing beneath your feet. In late March, when the last frost melts from the forest floor, something remarkable happens in woodlands across the eastern United States. Before the trees fully leaf out, millions of delicate pink-striped flowers carpet the ground. They open on sunny days, close at night, and within weeks, they vanish completely. But underground, the real treasure waits. Buried 3 to 5 inches beneath the soil are small corms, ranging from the size of a marble to 2 inches across. To the uninitiated, they look like nothing. To the Algonquin people, they were a staple food, cooked and eaten like potatoes, according to ethnobotanical records. To the Iroquois, they were a delicacy, boiled, roasted, and given to children as sweets because of their sweet, chestnut-like flavor. The Thompson people of the Pacific Northwest built entire storage systems around these tiny tubers. They pit-baked them for preservation, flavored them with Indian celery, and stored them through winter in lined earth pits, just like modern potato cellars. For millennia, this was the potato of North America, reliable, sweet, abundant. Then, in the spring of 1719, a ship arrived in New Hampshire carrying tubers from Derry, Ireland. These Irish potatoes had traveled a long, strange loop, originating in the Andes, taken by the Spanish to Europe, adopted by the Irish, and finally brought back to North America. They arrived with something spring beauty never had, an empire behind them. Within decades, the Irish potato became the standard. It was planted in rows, stored in root cellars, and shipped across state lines. By the mid-1800s, it had completely replaced the native potatoes that indigenous peoples and early settlers had relied on for generations. But here is the absurdity of that replacement. We traded down. Spring beauty corms are nutritionally superior to modern potatoes. They are high in vitamins A and C. They are rich in potassium, calcium, magnesium, and iron. A 1938 study by Janowski and Kingsbury found that spring beauty corms contained roughly double the amount of easily digestible reducing sugars compared to non-reducing sugars, along with high starch content. This means they provide quick, clean energy and require far less cooking time than industrial potatoes. When raw, they have the crisp bite of a radish. When cooked, they transform into something closer to a roasted chestnut, or the creamiest potato you have ever eaten. The Brooklyn Botanic Garden calls them the definitive tater tot. Euell Gibbons, the man who literally wrote the book on foraging, claimed they were sweeter than standard potatoes and completely successful whether fried, mashed, or tossed in salads. So if it tastes like candy, packs more nutrition, and grows without fertilizer, why did we abandon it? The official story is practical. Spring beauties are small. They are buried deep, and you cannot harvest them with a combine harvester. They do not store for months in a warehouse like a russet Burbank. But that explanation ignores the reality of how this plant grows. Spring beauty can grow in stands so dense they carpet entire forest floors. A skilled forager can collect a double handful in an hour when they are abundant and blooming. Native American peoples harvested them successfully for thousands of years. They were so productive that children dug them up as snacks while playing in the woods. The real reason is simpler. Spring beauty didn't fit the system. European agriculture is built on control. It demands year-round availability, uniformity, and centralized distribution. You can't control a wild potato that disappears 3 weeks after spring arrives. You can't patent it. You can't create a seed monopoly around it. You can't force farmers to buy new stock every season. The Irish potato fit the industrial model. It could be standardized. It could be processed. By the 1950s and the 1960s, the rise of the French fry industry in New Brunswick fundamentally changed potato agriculture. Scientists at agricultural research stations started describing their work using engineering language rather than scientific prose. The emphasis shifted from serving farmers to serving the processing industry. We stopped breeding potatoes for flavor and nutrition and started breeding them for the deep fryer. This erasure wasn't unique to the potato. It was the same story playing out across the continent. Indigenous crops like goosefoot, marsh elder, and groundnut, plants that had fed people for thousands of years, were replaced by corn, wheat, and soy. Why? Because those crops could be commoditized. Spring beauty was a forager's crop in an agriculturalist's world, a symbol of wild abundance in an economy built on scarcity. And here is the part that should make you angry. Right now, we are spending billions of dollars trying to genetically engineer climate-resilient crops. We are trying to force industrial potatoes to survive drought and disease. Meanwhile, a perfectly adapted native potato is growing wild across half the continent. Spring beauty thrives in woodland soils with minimal care. It self-seeds freely, producing tiny tubers the first year that develop into larger corms the second year. Once established, it covers large areas and it survives the winter. Its cousin in the southwest, the Four Corners potato, Solanum jamesi, has twice the protein, calcium, magnesium, and iron of an organic red potato. A single tuber can yield up to 600 offspring in just 4 months. But the indigenous communities who maintained these varieties for thousands of years now fear reintroducing them. Lyle Balancourt, a Hopi archaeologist, explained that they view it as their intellectual cultural property, and that it is a big responsibility for them to maintain that knowledge and to prevent its commercialization. They are right to be worried. We destroyed the knowledge systems that sustained these crops, replaced them with industrial monocultures, and now that the industrial system is failing, corporations are eyeing the very genetics they tried to erase. Today, spring beauty is a ghost. It is labeled controversial to harvest due to conservation concerns, even though it grows abundantly in every county of Illinois alone. It is sold at a few specialty nurseries as a wildflower, not food. Foraging guides mention it as a curiosity. But you won't find it in seed catalogs. You won't see it at farmers' markets. Most people walking through the spring woods will admire the delicate pink flowers and never know they are standing on a feast. The fairy potato has become a fairy tale. It is a story we tell about what was once abundant. Not because it could not feed us, but because we chose a food system that values control over nutrition and profit over taste. The spring beauties are still out there. Every April, they bloom in the woodlands. They still produce their tiny, delicious tubers. They still offer themselves as food to anyone who remembers what they are. Most people just walk right past them on their way to buy a bag of potatoes shipped from Idaho. If this vault opened something for you, subscribe to Nature's Lost Vault and hit the bell. Every like and every share helps preserve the knowledge they tried to bury. Some foods are too wild to farm, some flavors are too good to forget, and some treasures are still waiting right beneath your feet. The next vault opens soon.